Welcome back to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy, and today we're going to tell you about Barry and Honey Sherman.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the description for the links of all of our podcast platforms, Cash App, and Buy Me a Coffee. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends. Welcome back, everybody. And don't forget to tell your friends because they deserve to see us too.
Yes, they do.
Anyway, what's
Don't
our story
deprive
today?
them.
What's our story today?
This is one of those cases that you can call a real who done it. So, Miss Parker, this one's right up your alley.
Miss Parker.
Hey, Miss Parker. So we're going to Canada for this one too. This is also going to be one that you want to pay attention to because somebody somewhere knows something. Speak up. We're going to start with Barry. Bernard Charles Barry Sherman was born on February 25th of 1942. His dad was a partner in a zipper company, but he passed away at an early age. He would die when he was only 41 years old. After he passed away, Barry's mom went back to being an occupational therapist. Barry was very smart. He graduated from the University of Toronto in 1964 with a doctorate in engineering. He received the Governor General's Award for his thesis there, and he actually enrolled there when he was only 16 years old. Then he went to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or you might know it as MIT, where he graduated in 1967 with his PhD in astrophysics. He'd spend his summers working for his Uncle Winters at the company which was Empire Laboratories. He would drive around and pick up urine samples for pregnancy tests. When he graduated from MIT, the original plan was to go to be a rocket scientist at NASA. But you know how life likes to throw curveballs. Well, Uncle Winters passed away, and then 17 days later, Aunt Winters passed away. So he found himself with an opportunity to buy majority stock in Empire Industries from Uncle Winters' estate. So he found a business partner, and together they bought Empire for $250,000.
Wow, that's a hell of a deal.
Right?
And did they not have kids?
They did have kids. They had 4 younger children, so they were much younger.
Oh, okay.
They weren't old enough yet. So the estate made a caveat that Barry could basically buy this company so long as when the Winters...
Sorry.
So long as when the Winters kids turned 21, they would be able to work there. Then after 2 years of learning the ropes, they would have the option to buy a 5% stake in the company.
I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a multi-million-dollar company, I mean, 5% is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Now, I'm talking about a company that was first in Canada with the rights to manufacture things like Valium and saccharin, not just a little pea running company like what he did on his summers. And there was a deal breaker in there too. He wouldn't have to let the kids do anything like work there or get their shares if he managed to sell the company, which is what happened in 1965. There's a bunch of corporate words explaining how this all went down, and there's a lot of corporate words throughout this case. But I'm a simple woman. I couldn't tell you the state of my stocks and bonds. There's no way.
I can. You don't have any.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have any stocks and bonds. That's the state of them. So as we go, if I don't break it all the way down, you'll know why, because it'll get very wordy. My goal is to keep it simple. So during this time, he also fell in love with a woman named Honey. She had also graduated from U of T. She was of Austrian descent, and her parents were Holocaust survivors. She was actually born in a displaced persons camp after World War II. She did move to Canada with family and became a teacher, and then she and Barry got married in 1971. Barry was over there buying and selling, partnering, doing corporate stuff, and manufacturing Prozac, and by the time the couple were in their 40s, they were millionaires. By the time they were in their 50s, they were multi-billionaires.
Nice.
Yeah. And they had 4 kids too. So while Barry is putting in that big brain to work, Honey's holding down the house, the kids, and she is big into fundraising and stuff. Barry was a workaholic, and because he was always working, he came off as rude to a lot of people. Like they would go to sporting events or concerts and he was constantly on his BlackBerry. Now, Honey herself had a sharp tongue, so she kind of came off as rude to some people too, but she was hella good at getting people to crack open their checkbooks. In 1974, Barry started his own company, Apotex. In 2016, Apotex had over 10,000 employees and was one of Canada's largest drug manufacturers, with over 260 products selling in over 115 countries. Revenue for Apotex was roughly $1.5 billion a year.
Wow.
That's a lot of monies. Despite all that, they lived pretty frugally. Honey mended her own clothes if she got a hole in something. They ate fast food and not in expensive restaurants. If they went on a road trip, like if me and you went on a road trip with them, we were all chipping in on gas and snacks. They weren't footing the bill. Barry drove an old Ford Mustang. You'll see in the picture because Darren's like, look at that Mustang.
Yeah, I was like, it's like an 04.
Yeah, it's not restored. It's just a beater. And it leaked carbon monoxide into the cab. Honey was a little different on that front, but she still drove a 10-year-old Lexus. And they said if they damaged their cars, like Honey hit a deer one time, they'd just have them fixed and keep on going. So.
Well, I mean, that's how they keep the money.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. If you want to keep your money.
Yeah.
Just do with what works. You don't have to have all that expensive, flashy stuff.
True. I'm telling you, man, we sit there with truck payments and all that stuff for years.
Long time.
And basically we did it just for the warranties and stuff like that.
You don't have to work on them all the time.
You don't have to work on them all the time. But man, I just got to the point where I was like, I am tired of paying payments all the damn time.
Yeah.
Could afford them. Just got tired of it.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to sell the truck. Sold it. And then we just bought
something you love.
Just bought something that both of us needed, and it's ours.
Yeah. Happy.
I mean, it's just the way you do it.
Yeah. It's a nice way to do it. Honey did try to get him a new red sports car for his 50th birthday, and he told her to take it back. So they couldn't even buy each other nice things. They did spend money. Don't get me wrong. They lived in a nice 12,000 square foot house in North York. They took vacations and spent weekends in the winter at ski clubs. Honey and the kids would go out and hit the slopes, and Barry was in the lodge just working away. He was Jewish and Barry was born, so they were both born into Jewish families, but Barry grew up to be an atheist. But they did donate $50 million to the United Jewish Appeal and the United Way, and they gave money to build an addition on the Baycrest Health Science Geriatric Center. They loaned money to friends and employees if they needed it, and they donated $50 million worth of medicine to disaster zones. So if something would happen, you don't think about that kind of stuff. If you're displaced because of a natural disaster, you don't have your medication. And so they was donating medication so people could still have what they needed. Rumors are that Barry had also got scammed a few times by people, but many say that he was well aware of what was going on. Like when he invested in a yacht company that never bought any yachts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he had found a loophole in the Canadian tax law. So his donations entitled him to an equivalent tax credit. So say he would donate $6 million to a company. He could then take out a loan from that company for $6 million. So he really wasn't losing any money, but he still got a credit for that donation on his taxes.
Yep.
See what I mean?
Keeping the rich rich.
Of course. And Barry eventually became a lobbyist too. He had a reputation with government regulators and his competitors of being a combative person. He seemed to love to go to court, telling employees once that Apotex was a legal company that sold meds on the side. Some people would describe Barry and Honey as good, kind people. And even Barry said, if we're thieves, we're Robin Hood. But you also had people who said that Barry was a deplorable human being. And some of his competitors told a reporter, you couldn't print the language that they would use to describe him. He was said to gouge Canadians with high drug prices. Over $1 billion in revenue every year. I can see why they thought that. It was said that his company had filed an estimated 1,200 cases against the government and federal courts. So he was very into that. One of his lawsuits over the company's application to make generic versions of trazodone took 30 years until the Federal Court of Appeals ruled that the government did mishandle it. So he was like a dog with a bone. Some do say that he won at least some of his lawsuits because he had money and donated to places like U of T. So like if he lost that lawsuit, he would stop donating. So they would just let him win so they could keep that money coming in.
I feel like that happens a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Dollar signs. Everybody just sees dollar signs.
Oh, yeah.
No. Let's take a minute and hear from today's sponsor, and then we'll get back into it.
Be right back. Is your washer and dryer pushing your buttons instead of the other way around? Make a clean getaway before you spin out of control.
For sheets and giggles, go ahead and call My Laundry Solutions today at 800-535-4411 if you live in an apartment. We know you're pressed for time, so you can also tumble on over to mylaundrysolutions.com, which is available 24/7. They are a wonderful company to do business with.
No credit check, free installations, all for about $1 a day.
That's sensational.
Give them a call. You won't be disappointed. Give them a call today or tomorrow.
or the next day.
Or the next day. Well, you got to lose. Just try them out.
Yeah. Do it. Do it.
Do it now.
So let's talk about December 13th of 2017. The couple had decided to move near Toronto. So Honey bought a corner lot and they were planning on tearing down the house that was there to build a new one. So they put their house in North York up for sale. Let me mention that on December 12th, Honey missed a meeting at the Baycrest Center Foundation Board. She didn't usually miss meetings, but if she had to, she would always notify someone. So they emailed her and she responded that she was, quote, dealing with some stuff, end quote. Now we can talk about the 13th. Barry and Honey met in Barry's office at Apotex late in the afternoon. They went over some design changes for the new house. Honey left and went home first, and then Barry left shortly after her. Barry was usually not able to sleep, so he sent emails and things at all hours of the night. That evening, he sent out a company email about a drug that they were developing, but that was the only one that he sent, not the normal amount that they usually get. The next day, Barry didn't show up for work, something very out of character for a workaholic. On the 15th, the cleaning crew was scheduled to come in and clean while Honey and Barry weren't home, so they had a lockbox that they used to get into the house. Then a couple of real estate agents showed up with a couple that was interested in buying the house. So there's now 4 people coming into the house. They showed them the main parts of the house. Actually, there was 6 people if you include the cleaning crew. The real estate agent showed the main parts of the house to the couple and then took them down to the basement.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. This isn't a typical basement. You can see in the pictures that pool is their basement. So they had an in-ground pool and a hot tub. But they found much more when they went to the basement than that pool and that hot tub. Honey and Barry's bodies were on the pool deck. There was a railing around the pool area that was just over 3 feet high. Barry and Honey both had leather belts around their necks that were tied to that railing. Barry was in a seated position with his legs crossed, right over left. Honey was on her side, and she had a mark on her right cheek with blood on her face. Both had on coats that had been pulled down their shoulders, so just down a little ways to restrain their arms. They were facing away from the water, but the bodies were tipped back to where the belts were under the back of their necks. Honey's phone was found in a bathroom on the first floor that she never used. Barry's gloves and some house inspection paperwork were found next to the garage door. A room had recently been painted, so that window was still open to let it air out, and apparently they were also infamous for never locking their doors, so the fact that the doors were not locked was not out of the ordinary to them. Hell, Honey didn't put passcodes on any of her electronics, and Barry's passcode was always 1234. So they weren't big on security either. Anyways, The police were saying that this looked like a murder-suicide. And since Honey had that mark on her face, they believed that she was the victim. There were no signs of a break-in, so it all added up to them. But they did go ahead and turn the case over to the Toronto Police Service Homicide Squad because they had the most experience in dealing with sudden, unexpected deaths. The lead detective showed up on day 4 to investigate.
Oh, good Lord.
Yep, it's one of those cases. And Barry and Honey's kids were not on board with the murder-suicide angle, even with their causes of death being ruled as ligature strangulation. The kids did end up issuing a statement telling the cops to do an investigation. But when they thought about it, they decided to hire their own private investigator and a forensic pathologist to do another autopsy. I mean, why not? You got the money.
Good.
That second autopsy said that this was a homicide. So the police said, okay, we'll just mark it as suspicious. So that's what they did. They changed it to a suspicious death. So it made you wonder why what they found out on that second autopsy.
Yeah.
Well, for one, the belt placement put the pressure on the back of their necks. I don't know if you caught that the first time.
Yeah.
Not exactly how you would harm yourself or be able to harm yourself. The actual ligature marks on their necks were not from those belts. They were made by something a much different shape than what those belts were. It was from that they were killed, and then the actual belts were used to stage the bodies, is what they believe. They also found marks on their wrists, like that they had been tied with zip ties or something to bind them. But then they were cut off afterwards. So they weren't there. But the police just, I guess, ignored that there were marks on their wrists. The first autopsy ignored that there was marks on their wrists.
Of course.
And you can't take them off yourself after you die. So obviously, somebody else would have had to have been there. Over the first 6 weeks of the investigation, police had been interviewing people asking why Barry would do this. Now, they had to go back and ask all those people who could have done this.
They probably didn't collect any evidence either.
No. Why would they? It was murder-suicide. And this is a well-off neighborhood in 2017. The Shermans may not have had surveillance cameras, but the neighbors did. So now they had to go around the neighborhood and collect all the surveillance footage. Well, what was left of it almost 2 months later. They didn't take fingerprints of the real estate agents, the couple that came to look at the house, or the cleaning crew to be able to exclude any of them as people who shouldn't be at the house. There was blood on the railing that they didn't think twice about since Honey had blood on her face, I assume. I also wanted to mention that Barry's glasses were perfectly placed on his face, which is another red flag. There is a reporter for the Toronto Star, Kevin Donovan. This man has made this case his career. He has written a book, he's done a podcast, and he made a docuseries all called Billionaire Murders. So it was 2 years after the murders that they report in the Toronto Star that the body positions were eerily similar to a set of junk sculptures that they had in the basement. And these are what they sound like. An artist takes things that have no use anymore and uses them to make art. And you'll see that in the bottom left of the case pick. For these life-size sculptures, they use skateboard parts, and it is a male and a female set of statues. The male statue has his right leg crossed over his left, like how Barry was found. But Honey, her legs weren't in front of her like the female statue. But they felt like it was weird enough.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah. Like that maybe they were staged that way on purpose.
Yeah.
The family had hold on to your butt, a $10 million reward out for information.
Wow.
By the end of 2019, though, the family's PI closed their case. A month later, reporter Kevin got the timeline from the police, and he says that it shows that they originally thought that the Shermans had died on the 15th, but now they think that they died when they got home on the 13th. Well, no shit. I would think that since they had both been at Apotec right before they went home, maybe you could have asked the people that had been there in that meeting with them or that had seen them what they had been wearing. And if they're wearing the same clothes, it's a pretty good indicator that they were attacked that night. But I'm not a detective. I'm just a podcaster. In November of 2020, Toronto police said that they had a person of interest, or it could be multiple people. They believed that this was a targeted attack. On December 14th of 2021, the police released a 20-second video of a person dressed in dark clothing walking down the sidewalk in a neighborhood. They say that they had accounted for everyone in the area except for this person. And so they're like, this could be the guy. This was at the time or around that time. Nobody knows who he is. But you can't really see anything distinguishing like a face or a tattoo. Nothing ever came of it because there's really nothing to see. There's no identifying information. In January of 2022, Honey's sister Mary suggested that it might be religiously motivated, that Honey was possibly the target because she was very vocal about being Jewish and about her support of Israel.
I mean, there's an option.
Yeah, it's something to look into, right? If you did look into stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they had many suspects to look into if Barry was the target. He had actually been targeted by the Canadian wing of the Jewish Defense League, which is a group on the FBI's terrorist list. He had been sued by Tara Pharmaceutical Industries, which is one of the largest generic drug makers in Israel. He owed other companies about $1 billion that he said he wasn't going to pay. He had just lost a $580 million lawsuit, like literally days before this happened. And a man named Frank D'Angelo had a long legal history with Barry. So they talked to him and he said, the worst thing that could have happened to Frank D'Angelo is Barry dying. He thinks that someone maybe came to make an offer that he couldn't refuse, but that Barry refused. So he's saying, it wasn't me. I benefit from Barry being around here, plus the fact that he referred to himself in the third person. Ugh. But we can't exclude family either. Remember his cousins? Uncle Winter's 4 kids that were supposed to get a stake in Uncle Winter's company, but Barry sold it? Reportedly, he did still provide financial assistance to them over the years, but he stopped, and they filed a lawsuit against him. They lost that lawsuit, and one of the cousins owed Barry $300,000, and he said he wanted to decapitate Barry and roll his head across the Apotex parking lot. Yeah. But the night of the murders, he had an airtight alibi. He had been, he had been watching Peaky Blinders.
That's a good alibi. That's a good alibi. All right, done.
Concrete.
Yeah, that's it. He's good. All right, send it on. Next one.
Well, he left too. He was watching Peaky Blinders, but then he went to a Cocaine Anonymous meeting.
Oh.
So.
Well, I'd stick with the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, you can just stop there.
I would have stopped there.
Yeah, you didn't even have to add to that.
Yeah.
And then there's his own son, Jonathan. He had 1 son and 3 daughters who are now all billionaires themselves. But at the time, Barry had helped fund several business ventures for Jonathan, and it was around $120 million that he owed Barry. A couple of weeks before the murders, Barry asked Jonathan to mortgage some of those businesses and give him $50 to $60 million of that back.
Did he say when he needed the money?
He did not say. He just needed it quickly, but he didn't say why. But all Barry's money, like most millionaires, billionaires, is tied up in their businesses. Just because somebody's worth that much, that includes assets. And that's why they're like, I always have to liquidate my assets, because your money is not in a, like, all in cash, like just hanging out at your house.
Word.
Yeah. Like it's in a book. You know what I mean? Like just on the shelf, like a fake book.
Yeah.
But maybe it's in the book or the docuseries, what he wanted it for. You'll have to check those out. Jonathan was being looked into as a suspect, but he was never arrested. And he is very adamant that he did not do it. He's also the one offering up the reward, which he increased, by the way. One of his sisters did say at one point that she thought he did have something to do with it.
No, that makes Christmas awkward.
Right. Right? You're a murderer. Oh, I drew your name in Secret Santa. Yeah. Then in April of this year, 2025, the Star reported new surveillance saying 2 SUVs pull into the next door neighbor's driveway. 4 people get out and are seen moving around for at least an hour. So if up to 4 people were involved, then there's a higher chance that someone can talk. And maybe I'll mention here that the reward money is up to a whopping $35 million right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably the biggest one I've ever seen.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. So if you do know something, that's plenty to start a new life with a new identity and a new face. So if you know something, say something.
Yeah. You never know. You might get paid.
Yeah. I mean, if you can help, do it. Reward or not, you should do it.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, this is like incentive. There's a reason rewards are offered. Lots of people called in tips, of course, after that reward was raised, but nothing panned out because that was just money grabs. So I guess I should say, yeah, actually, if you know something, you need to call in. Barry's will left everything to Honey, so that wasn't going to work. And then the kids equally. Honey had a will. They're saying that she had one. She had actually talked to the lawyer about it right before this happened, but they've never found the will. Why doesn't the lawyer do it then? Like, why can't he be like, here it is, here's the rough draft?
Yeah.
Like something. The family has started several foundations since the murders, so they are keeping with the tradition. The house was demolished in 2019. So that is where the case is now. It's unsolved and still questions unanswered. So the number for the Toronto Police Service is 416. That's our cat.
That's our cat knocking on the door like, hey, you guys coming out?
Could y'all come feed me dinner, please?
The number for Toronto
Police Service is 416-808-2222. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
All right.
The cat's like, you're done.
You're done.
You're done. Get out.
You're done.
Time to see me.
If you like our come see me, please. If you like our content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you get a notification anytime a new episode drops or when we go live. Case suggestions, just say hi or let us know what's up. You can email us at dnday.truecrime@gmail.com.
And as always, don't forget to tell your friends because they deserve us to see us too.
They deserve it.
Thanks for all the subscribers. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.